ladies and gentlemen, or not ladies and gentlemen, or actually, yeah, I could say that, but I was actually meaning to say, welcome back, Strong Lung fans. Sorry if my cursor just got in the way again, but I don't mean for it to do that. But anyway, yeah. It's nice to see y'all again. But watch out. Guess who it is? It's the Earkien. Yeah, I know you heard that. That didn't sound very good. That's what an Earkien sounds like. You know why it sounds like that? Because an Earkien is a CN tower-sized female monstrous creature, and it's part hippo, part whale, part dog, and part walrus. And this was a real tough one. They're really dangerous. Yeah, Earkiens, they are really aggressive. They're one of Stronglung's most dangerous Lunerboonies. I mean, they are adorable, but they're not friendly, okay? You see, especially the one Fango's fighting. They got long arms and legs. Yeah, they got long limbs. It is kind of fancy how you see like she's got a one-sleeved top, like it's part like it's like half like tank top and half t-shirt like that, and her skirt's got like a fancy like bottom to it, and she's like, but watch out for those big teeth. She is not a nice girl at all. She is one big meanie. But anyway, this episode opens with Fango, and he's watching let's say he's watching a demolition derby show on TV, and then Spoonie and Spoonie and Crawley are watching it with him, and then they're just enjoying it. But then all of a sudden they hear a siren outside. Well, Spoonie does. He says, wait, there's a siren. And then they look outside. They see it's a police chase. He says, whoa, look, a real police chase. We got it. See? Oh, gosh, yeah. They just watch as the police chase keeps going and going. They switch to the news to see they say, well, they were going to follow them, but then they saw the helicopter and they rushed back to the TV to see on the news. They said, well, look at this. They wanted to watch the police chase for a little bit before returning the channel to the demolition derby show. And then all of a sudden, that's when that's when Hacker says, like, rings the doorbell, and Fango shows up. He says, oh no, Hacker, please. He says, Fango, I hate to break it to you, but the dream gate opened again. Fango says, no, not now. I can't handle another Lunerboonie today. I already fighted the Megamoles. I already fighted the Autobellas. I already fighted the Matterlins. I already fighted the Kitty Drones. I already fighted the Elementals. I already fighted the statues. I already fighted, yeah, pretty much everything. Like, I know I just fighted the Chocolate Mermaids and the Ghost Fairy and the Alien Robot Girls and the Piranha Girl and Insect Girls and the Abominable Snow Lady. I actually defeated the Piranha Girl and Insect Girls and the Abominable Snow Lady yesterday. Well, actually, Crawley defeated the Insect Girls. Wasn't me, actually. But, hey, at least... But, well, don't worry, man. I'm still a hero. Okay, that's good, Fango. Yeah, yesterday was really rough. And I can't tell you how rough it's probably going to be today with this new Lunerboonie. He says, well, yeah, this episode isn't just a Lunerboonie battle. It's pretty much a about Fango enjoying car crashes. He says, I'm gonna. He says, well, see here. He says, and then this is when then he says, and then we see after Hacker leaves, Fango promises him that he'll go for the Lunerboonie that just came through the dream gate, and he lets him know that, that he'll get to work in time when he needs to. But then all of a sudden, when they get in the car to, we see, when I get in the car, we're not on that part yet. And then when Fango was about to go back to the TV, the doorbell rings again. He says, what now? And then he opens the door, says, I'm coming. And then he says, oh! He says he sees it's Doggy and Rolly and QB. He says, you want to come to the mall with us? He says, sure! And then Spoonie and Crawly wants to join in too, and then they get in, and then that's when they get in their car. And then they go to the mall. He says, and then while they're busy, not busy, while they're on the way to the mall in Fort Stone. I'm about to show you what Fort Stone looks like here pretty soon. They're driving on the suspension. He says, which mall are we going to? Oh, maybe we should go to the one in Semi-Truck City. He says, dang, are we really going that far? Said Fango. He says, well, yeah, it's because there's other fun places there, by the way. He says, you know what, actually, I would really like to go to Semi-Truck City. He actually agrees. He does realize it's a far drive, but he actually agrees that he actually wants to go there because he says it's really, really fun, actually. Or actually, hold on. Or maybe Fort Stone. And then he changes his mind. He says, wait, Fort Stone's even better. Yeah, they decide, and then they change their mind. Rather than going to Semi-Truck City, they go to Fort Stone instead. That's when they arrive in Fort Stone. Well, they cross the bridge. But then sudden, he says, wow, this is one of my favorite bridges. But then all of a sudden, without warning, that's when we see a huge wave wash a whole bunch of, we see a huge, splash from the water. We see that, we see Doggy slams on the brakes as we see a big wave, tsunami, push a whole bunch of cars off the bridge. And then once they see why a whole bunch of cars were just knocked off the bridge by a huge wave, they realize. That's when we see the Earkien come out of the water, and she roars. And that's when Fango says, for cartoon's sake. That must have been what Hacker was talking about. He says, and then we see, that's when we see, we see this guy named, Spotty, who's Platy's clone. He says, aren't you gonna get in your mecha suit and fight that thing? Fango says, maybe we should I'd rather do my fun stuff first before I get to that. He says, well, and then Doggy says, well, okay, but, he says, well, I'm getting off this bridge immediately and going to Fort Stone. So they just decide to do their fun stuff. Fango says, well, and then we see Rolly says, well, you really should. Fango, you really should. At least, aren't you gonna? Let's say he says, come on, Fango. That thing's a monster. He says, or, let's see, what should he say? Come on, Fango, I really do agree with Spotty. You really should get in your mecha suit and fight that thing. Well, but then Fango says, well, see here, I rather, well, Rolly, I've been fighting with a lot of Lunerboonies earlier, and I want to recover from. There has been a lot of Lunerboonie battles the last few days. Could I at least have a Lunerboonie battle break for at least a day or so? I know I promised Hacker I would fight fight it, but I probably would want a break and recover from the other battles. And then both Spotty and Rolly says, okay, fine. They say okay, and Spotty says, whatever, well. Rolly says, fine. He says, and then Rolly says, we can do what, and then, or let's say Spotty, and then Spotty says, we can, at least do what you want to do for now. He says, and then Fango says, don't worry, I'll fight it when I'm ready to fight it. I just need a break right now. But let's just get off this bridge quick before that thing destroys it with us on it. And yes, we see she kicks the bridge with her long legs. She goes like and then and yeah, she's not a very friendly girl at all. And yeah. So yeah, I'll be right back to show you what Fort Stone looks like. And here's Fort Stone. This is what it looks like, y'all. Yeah. And this is the city that the Earkien attacks. Although, Fango still asks for a break. Well, he doesn't ask. Well, yeah, he asks and tells his friends that he needs a break. We all know what he's doing. If he needs a break, he just needs a break. Fango he just wanted to recover from the other Lunerboonie fights. Now, we can see what he's doing. He's shopping at the mall. That's when suddenly we see a car, like a police car, that falls through the roof, of the mall and lands. And it smashes through the roof. Yeah, because the Earkien threw it at the mall. We can hear the Earkiens roar again. And yeah, when she roars after, we see a police car come landing in the mall. It gets smashed through the roof and landed in the mall. And it's upside down. Fango says cheese. And we see Spunky's clone. We could just call him I don't know what his name should be. Maybe we could just call him maybe Donkey. I don't know. Maybe we could just call him Punky. Maybe or maybe we call him Bunky. Yeah, Bunky or Punky. Let's just stick with Punky. And he says, you know, Fango, you really should get in your mecha suit and start fighting the Earkien. And Fango says, I know, but remember what I said. I want to recover from the other fights I was in before. And then, and yep, and they keep, his friends keeps telling him that he should probably start fighting the Earkien, or else it's not gonna end well. But Fango keeps asking them because he's still tired from the other fights. And yeah, seriously, he's just tired. He just doesn't want to fight. We see them like order pizza from a pizzeria, and then we see a left turn signal water tower get knocked over because the Earkien threw like a train at it. Yeah, let's just say she threw a freight train at one of the left turn signal water towers, and then it fell over. And we see maybe we could call him Saucy, and then that's Porky's clone, or it's kind of hard to think. We could call him it's Porky. Maybe we could call him Dorky. No, not Dorky. Maybe we could call him Lorky or Pokey. Let's call him Pokey. And Pokey says, "Fango, why can't you just get in your mecha suit and fight that thing?" And Fango says, "Not right now, but I'm still trying to recover from the other fights. This girl can also wait. So she can have her own way for a little bit, but I'll get in. Once I'm recovered enough, I can get in my mecha suit and fight her." And then we see Daime's clone, Limey. He says, But Fango, we recommend you do it now." Fango says, "Limey, I can't do it right now. I still have to recover from the other fights." "But Fango, that thing's wreaking havoc through Fort Stone." And that's what Limey says. He says, "Oh, dang. Maybe I could ask, do you guys want to recover as well?" He asks Spoonie and Crawley if they want to recover. He says, you guys want to fight that thing, or you just want to recover with me?" He says, well, we should probably get, if you're not gonna fight it, then we're not gonna help. We're not gonna fight it for you. Because if you want us to fight it, you gotta fight it too. Yeah, let's say if he wants them to fight it, he needs them to fight with them. But yeah, because Spoonie and Crawley doesn't want to fight the Earkien on their own. He says, "Okay, I'll let you wait as well." But then we cut to them like going for they're riding a bus into downtown Fort Stone. They're going to get in Limey. They were going to the toy store, but then suddenly the bus they were riding in gets crushed. Let's say it gets crushed by a semi truck that the Earkien threw, or let's say it got crushed by a helicopter that the Earkien knocked out of the sky, like wah, like that. And then she runs a helicopter into the bus. There was no passengers on it except the driver, but let's say it crushed the back half of the bus. or maybe the very middle of it. Therefore, the driver's okay. Yeah, but and then suddenly we see that's when Spoonie says, "Fango, can't we just get in the mecha suits and and get rid of that Earkien before it, before she causes more damage to Fort Stone?" Fango says, "Guys, I would really love to do that, but I would really love it if I could get rid of her, but I still want to recover from the last, like the last 8 fights I was in before, especially the one from yesterday." Or he just says that he wants to recover from the other fights, including the one from yesterday. He says, "I'm already tired of fighting these things." I thought, yeah. And that's when Hacker calls him on the phone. Yeah, but then they go to the, well, he's looking for a toy for Limey. He says, and then Hacker asks Fango if he got rid of the Earkien yet. He says, "Did you get rid of the Earkien yet?" Fango says, "No, not yet, but I'm about to." And then Hacker says, "Why haven't you got rid of the Earkien yet? What are you doing? Are you even?" He says, "What?" He says, "Why haven't you got rid of the Earkien yet? What's taking so long? Are you even fighting it?" "Oh, great. I know I promised I fight it for you, but I'm trying to recover from the other Lunerboonie fights." And Hacker says, "But Fango," and then he says, "Fango, come on, man. Don't you see that thing is crazy? It's going crazy. It's wrecking the city and all sorts of things. And it's doing, and yeah, that thing." Or he just tells him that the Earkien is destroying the city, and he really just wants him to get rid of the Earkien. And then Fango suddenly says, "Hacker, I told you I'm tired and I want to recover from the other fights. I'm too tired to deal with the Earkien right now. I'll get her when I'm ready to." And then he just hangs, and Hacker says, "But Fango," but unfortunately Fango hits the hang up button. And then Hacker, right before Hacker, and then we cut to Hacker saying, "Seriously? Hope he fights the Earkien soon." And then when Fango, he says, "Ooh," and then we see Daimi shows up with a toy. He says, "Real? Oh, that's a good one." And then once he says, "Let's go, y'all." And then we cut to them outside in their car, because they parked, because let's say that like the strong ones, let's say the people who was with Fango, because they were at the toy store. It was just Limey and Spoonie and Crawley, and it was Cuppy, which is Kathy's clone, and we got Pokey with them. Turns out the fight, and that's when we see them back in Doggy's car, when Doggy picks them up. That's when we see That's when we see the Earkien throw a tanker truck in their way, he says. And then when Limey looks back, he says, "Dang, look at all that traffic behind us." Well, he doesn't say that quite yet. First, he says, Dog says, "Whoa, that was close." And then Dog says, "Fango, can't you at least, can you just be, why aren't, oh, Fango," he asks Fango if he's done yet, and Fango says, "Nope, not yet, but I'm getting there." And Doggy says, "Well, can't you be done right now? Because I really want this Earkien out of my, I really want this Earkien to be gone." And then Limey says, "Geez, look at all that backed up traffic behind us." And then a fire truck shows up, and we see we see it's putting out the fire on the tanker truck that the Earkien just threw, and then we see fighter, and then all of a sudden she crushes the fire truck by throwing a car, and then she throws a pickup truck at the fire truck, and then it tips over, and they say, and then Crawley says, "Fango, seriously? Can't you see that Fort Stone's in trouble?" And then Fango, I know Fort Stone's in trouble, but he still doesn't listen. And that's when he says, "Look now, see?" And then the military starts to show up. We see the tanks pull up. They start shooting the Earkien. The Earkien suddenly grabs. That's when we see the Earkien get more mad, and the tanks and the military is what, when they attack the Earkien, it's what makes the Earkien, then the Earkien starts to get angry. And then, because when she gets shot by the tanks and the fighter jets and the attack helicopters and the Humvees, that's when she snaps. She grabs it. Even Battleship starts attacking her. That's when we see her punch. That's when we see her, do this. She, just knocks all the tanks. She just, because since her hand's so big, she just sweeps them out of the way. She just, takes a step closer, and then she just, sweeps she just smacks them. She goes "Wah!" She just knocks all the tanks out of the way. She just, swings her hand across the ground, knocking all the tanks out of the way. And then the fighter jets, she sees the fighter jets coming, she knocks them out of the sky, and they hit a few, and they end up hitting more then they hit a few buildings, and then same with the helicopter, she knocks those out of the sky too. They end up, one lands on a car, while one lands in the water. She actually one crushes a car, one crashes into a building, and one also crashes into a left turn signal. Yeah, one of them one crushes one crushes a dump truck. Well, one crushes a taxi, and one crashes into a gas station, and then there's this big explosion, and one also crashes into a left turn signal water tower, or maybe or no. And then and then the water tower falls over. It almost crushes Fango and his friends. He says, "Oh, man, that was a close one. Jeez, that was close." Fango says, he says, and then there's Crawley. He says, "Fango, there's only one thing you can do." "I know," said Fango, and then Fango says, "I guess now should be the time I get in my mecha suit and fight the Earkien. Guys, he says, "Okay, guys," and he says, "Man, look at all this devastation the Earkien has caused." Yeah, actually, that's what he says that when he looks at all the devastation that the Earkien left behind. She runs an airliner into a cathedral, a dome cathedral. She runs a passenger airplane into a dome cathedral. Yeah, and man, is it crazy. Look at all the devastation in Fort Stone. That's when Fango says, "Guys, I gotta tell ya, I can clearly tell how much devastation this Earkien is causing." And as we see, in like the camera angle, we cut to a scene like where you see Fango, but in the background you see you see the Earkien like stomps on one of the battleships and sinks. She sinks one of the battleships by stomping on them. And then we see the Earkien suddenly like and then we see her knock over a communications tower, like she knocks over a TV tower, and then she roars again. And Fango looks at, and then we cut to Fang, and then we cut to, and then the scene change, and then we cut to Fang going, then we cut to all of Fango's friends, and then we see as they watch the Earkien destroy. We see them. She kicks a battleship. She capsizes a few battleships. By kicking them over, she sinks one by stomping on it. Yeah, she just sinks more battleships by stomping on them. She knocks more fighter jets out of the sky and destroys more buildings. She kicks more tanks away from her. And then we see she gets shot in the leg by a submarine. She grabs it and she throws it at a light. And we see her run. And then we see her knock over. We see her run we see her run a cargo ship into a clock tower. Yeah, and that's when and she's just roaring so hard that she just beaches a cargo ship, and she pushes it into a clock tower, knocks it over, and we see that it's not Penford, it's Fort Stone. We see Fort Stone is badly destroyed, and we see her crush. We see her grab, and we see her throw. She gets shot by a submarine, and she grabs it and throws it so hard. She throws it at a lighthouse, and then she throws it like a sphere. Like a spear. It hits a lighthouse, but then it bounces off the ground, and the submarine actually hits and we see another left turn signal water tower get destroyed. Yeah. Let's say she she threw a motorboat at the lighthouse. Or maybe let's say she ran a cruise ship into the lighthouse. She kicked it into the lighthouse, and then she gets shot in the leg by a submarine's torpedo, and then she grabs the submarine and throws it, and the submarine hits a left turn signal water tower. There goes another left turn signal water tower, and we see her kick power lines. She knocks some more attack helicopters out of the sky, and they end up crashing into and one of them ends up crashing into a transmissions tower, and we just see the other ones crash into two more buildings. We see the two of them crashes into two more buildings, and then one of them crashes into a transmissions tower, and then the transmissions tower falls over. And yeah. And then we just see her, and dang is she angry. And then she stomps on the ground, which shakes it, and she comes onto land. And then she just kicks, and then she just starts destroying the freeway by kicking it. She's kicking the buildings, knocking aircrafts out of the sky. She runs a blimp. She runs a blimp into a nuclear power plant and causes an explosion. She's just angry as heck. And Fango says, "Guys, I'm sorry I did not get." Yeah. He apologizes for not getting in his mecha suit to fight the Earkien. He says, and as they watch the Earkien destroy more parts of the city, he says, "Guys, this battle, this chaos ends now." And then we see, Spoonie and Crawley smiles, and Spoonie says, "Now that's what I want to hear." And then Fango rushes home to get in his mecha suit, and then we see, and the last thing we see the Earkien destroy. Well, probably not the last thing, and then Fango gets in his mecha suit, and let's say his mecha suit is it's got let's say this mecha suit he drives, let's say it's really, well, I can probably describe the mecha suit in my other, I could probably do a podcast on the mecha suits that he uses, but let's just say what he does with the mecha suit. I'll do a mecha suit podcast maybe next time. But anyway, so before he arrives in Penford, we see him rush into Penford in his mecha suit after we see him we cut to him getting in his mecha suit, and then we see him rush into Penford, and then we cut back to Penford where the Earkien is destroying the city. And she destroys the skyscrapers, including the very important tower, I said Penford anyway, it's Fort Stone, sorry. We see Fango rush to Fort Stone, then we cut back to the Earkien. She destroys she destroys a whole bunch of skyscrapers she just swings her arm like a wrecking ball. She just destroys them with her hand. She swings her arm and she like destroys the skyscrapers. Like she swings her arm like a wrecking ball and destroys a lot of skyscrapers, including the important ones, the ones that you see on screen, including Fort Stone Tower, which is the one with the green body and the black roof, like the one in the middle. And then when the Earkien, yeah, and then she roars again. Then suddenly, the Earkien noticed Fango. Maybe I could describe his mecha suit. So yeah, maybe I could describe it right now. It's like kind of looks like maybe like a toy, sort of, but it's like, or let's say it's like a, let's say it looks like it's like a robot, like it's got a cube head and cube body, or let's say, let me describe it. Yeah, let's just say it just looks like a normal like cartoon robot, or let's say it's like yeah, it's like got let's say it's got like a very big head. Oh, the head's not, well, the body's bigger than the head, and then it's got its arms. It's kind of like Hulk, kind of. Kind of looks like, let me look for one myself. It looks like this. Well, I wouldn't say it's really orange like this one, but this is what the mecha suit looks like. Let's say it looks like this. And then once the Earkien sees Fango coming, she gets mad. But she tries to, like, she tries to punch Fango with her long arms, but he jumps. And then he shoots. And then let's say he's got like a rocket arm, like the arm like launches from like the, I said this is a podcast, sorry about that, guys. Sorry about that, guys. Someone getting in, wrong person's getting into the podcast, but anyway, yeah, the arm, like, let's say his arm, or yeah, his arm, he points his fist at the Earkien, and rockets comes out the arm from the sides and the top and the bottom, and then they, or maybe, or let's say the rockets comes out of the knuckles of the mecha suit, because that'd probably make more sense in my opinion. Then he aims his fist at the Earkien, and then the missile shoots out of the knuckles of the fist, and then like the very back knuckles, like, and then they hit the Earkien, and then the Earkien gets upset, and then that's when he spreads his arms out like this, and then the sides of his arms open, and then missiles comes out of them, and then they shoot the Earkien again. The Earkien tries to step on him, but then he grabs the submarine that the Earkien threw at the left turn signal water tower, and then he whacks her, and then he breaks her leg with the submarine, and then he throws the submarine. He does like a spin move, like wow, and then he lets go of the submarine as it spears, and it spears the Earkien right through its chest, and then the Earkien falls back into the water. She falls backwards into the water, and then she just sinks, and then she's just completely dead. And then Fango says, and then we see, and then he says, that's and then he says, "Take that, you twisted Earkien." And then he laughs. And then we cut to him back at home already, and the sun is setting, and then we see, and then we see he gets another reward. Yeah, and then we see the sun setting, where he is as he's laughing, and then we see him. He says, and then we see him. We cut to him already back at home, and he says, "Well, that's easy." And then he tells Hacker, and then Hacker calls him again. He says, "Oh, I was just about to tell him." He says, and then Hacker asks, "Did you defeat the Earkien yet?" And then Fango says, "Yeah, I did." And then Hacker says, "Finally! Geez, why didn't you fight it in the first place?" "Well, I was trying to recover. I wanted to recover from the other Lunerboonie fights, but then I realized that doing that wasn't the best idea." Yeah, it's where Fango learns that trying to recover from the other fights when there's a Lunerboonie destroying the city. Yeah, trying to recover from the other fights when there's literally like from the other Lunerboonies he fights when there's literally a Lunerboonie destroying the city right now. Yeah, he shouldn't be trying to recover when there's a Lunerboonie destroying the city. He shouldn't try to recover from the other Lunerboonie fights. Like from the other Lunerboonie. He shouldn't try to recover from the other Lunerboonie battles when there's literally a Lunerboonie destroying the city at the moment. Because he should be getting in his mecha suit and beating the living crap out of the Lunerboonie that's destroying the city. Yeah, and then we get a time card that says the next day. And then we see Fango wake up in the morning. And then, we cut, after he calls Hacker and then watches the demolition derby. And then his friend shows up. And then he says, "It's nice to have you back, Fango." That's what Crawley says. And then we cut to a time card that says the next day. That's when you see the time card, and then we cut to Fango coming downstairs after waking up, and then he hears a doorbell. He says, "Oh, his friends actually are with him." Let's say his friends are already downstairs, and then he says, "Oh, wonder who that could be." And then he opens the door and he finds out. He says, "Oh, it's another reward." He says, and then, "Oh, there's also a message." He says, "Hey, the message says, 'Hey, Fango, I saw you were trying to recover from the other Lunerboonie battles, but please don't do it when there's a Lunerboonie. But next time, please don't try to recover from a Lunerboonie battle from Lunar.'" He said, well, hold on, let me say. It says, "Hey, Fango, I saw you were trying to recover from a Lunerboonie, from the other Lunerboonie battles while the Earkien was destroying the city." Or, let's say it doesn't mention the Earkien, it just says, "I know you were trying to recover from," just says, "Hey, Fango, I know you were trying to recover from the other Lunerboonie battles, but next time please don't do it when there's literally a Lunerboonie destroying the city. At least you still deserve your reward." And then Fango says, "Oh, yeah." He says, "That's true, at least. Oh, I still get my reward. And that's true. Next time a Lunerboonie is causing trouble, or he says, next time a Lunerboonie is causing chaos, I'm gonna focus, and I'm gonna stay focused and beat the living," he says, I'm gonna get in my mech. He says, I'm gonna stay focused and get in my mecha suit when I need. He says, I'm gonna get in my mecha suit when I need to and stay focused and get rid of the lunar. Or I don't know what he should say, but at least.
Fine, it sounds good to me.
No. It's a podcast. It's not over yet.
Oops, sorry.
Sorry about that.
Nope, sorry.
Please. Okay. Sorry, guys. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, Fango. Yeah, not sure what Fango says, what he should say, but he does say, yeah, next time there's a Lunerboonie wreck in the city, I should stay focused and get to business. Or, yeah, sorry. Have no clue what he should say, but he does tell himself that he should at least concentrate on getting rid of any Lunerboonie threat to Strong Lungs.